So if you're re-relating to anger, what I tell people is, what if the notion was this? What if your relationship to anger was, it's very healthy for me to feel anger. It's a pathway to my power. But it's not okay to let my anger hurt someone. All of a sudden, there's a high amount of sovereignty and choice in this. Because then you're like, oh, wow, it's healthy for me to feel anger. So when I feel it, I should allow myself to feel it. It can be an access point to my power. Oh, wow, I can actually feel more powerful in my day. You know how many dads go around not feeling powerful, and that's why it comes out to their kids or to their partners, right? Yeah. So it can be an access point to your power. And then most importantly, it's not okay to let it hurt someone. That means, oh, I have a choice of how I feel angry. I can feel angry and not let it hurt someone.
Welcome to the Peaceful Pop-Up Podcast. I'm Ravi, your host. Together, we'll slow down, breathe, and explore grounded fatherhood with greater peace and presence. I'm grateful you're here. Enjoy the show. This is the first time that Jaymin and I are meeting in person. Mm-hmm. We've been connected for over 2 years through a dear sister, a good friend, but just feels like, kindred spirits and easy just to be in your presence.
Yeah, totally. It doesn't feel like the first time we've met.
Yeah.
So I love that.
Amazing. Now, Jaymin, I like to give a proper introduction for you, but I didn't read your LinkedIn and your speaker page and all the things. So we're going to get a chance to know you right here, right now, in this moment.
Great. I love this question. Who are you?
Oh, just wait though. There's a specific way that we're going to do
great.
it.
Okay, I love that.
Are you open to playing a game?
Absolutely. Let's do it.
All right. The game is called Head, Heart, Hara.
Okay.
Okay. And we're going to get to honor each of those parts. We're going to oversimplify you. I know you're a very multidimensional man, but we're going to really oversimplify you down to head, heart, hara.
Okay.
Head is the facts about you.
Yeah.
This is where you're from, what you do, where you live, any of just the heady, I'm at a networking event, this is who I am information.
Yeah.
We honor that, gives us a chance to drop down into the heart space. And from here, I'm going to ask you to just fill in the prompt and the blank, I feel. In this moment, I feel, and we'll give enough space for a few feelings to come through.
Okay.
From there, we'll travel downward. The core of your being. It's your hara, your energetic center. What do you want for yourself, your family, humanity?
Cool. I love that.
You game?
Yeah, I love it. Should we go on?
If you want to go the full extent, we'll have you literally place your hand here.
Okay.
This is a nice somatic reminder that this is where I'm speaking from.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
All right.
So all the heady stuff. First and foremost, I'm a dad. I think that's really relevant. I'm an author, speaker, and coach. I've written 8 books. 8 books. And I have made my career primarily through speaking, being a professional speaker. Been very successful at that, made millions, achieved top 1% results in this industry, getting paid to speak on stage. So not selling from stage, getting paid to speak on stage, sharing my message, my story over and over again. Recognized by USA Today and CEO Times as a top motivational speaker. So that's pretty amazing. Cool. And then also a coach, and I help people in a couple ways. One is I help them understand what is their story for the world. Like how do you take what you are, what you do, what you care about, and say it in a way that gets people to respond to you. That's kind of my gift. So, and that's something that I've taken, a story that people respond to, and I've made millions from that. So I'm living proof of how you can do that, and I help them then do the business stuff afterwards.
Sign me up. That sounds great.
Right? Yeah. And so I usually do that in like 1 hour. Just like chat with people. I hear the life story, and then my mind goes blank, and these words come forward, and people are like, "Oh my God, that's me." So that's the primary thing I do. The secondary thing that I do is then help people either get paid to speak on stage or create a coaching business where they can take that story and the stuff they want to do in the world and put it out into the world. And the third layer of what I do, which is my favorite and like the deepest part, but the part that people have the most hesitance to, is how do you create a business that lets you scale your life? So for so many people, especially men, they feel like, oh, I'm here for my purpose. And I think that's true. Like you need a purpose in your life. But I think we're all here to enjoy what life truly has to offer and to live without regrets. And to do that, you can't be hustling on your business all the time. So for me, as a snapshot, I run about 3 calls a month total. I have a team of people who are amazing at what they do, who support my clients. I travel around the world. I'm here in the US from Bali, traveling for 5 months and just being like, oh, we're going to go there. And then just like go there with my kids, with a full family. So I get to fund a lifestyle that's really amazing. And while I'm funding it, I get to experience it. And I get to go rock climbing in the Eastern Sierra Nevadas or be here in Boulder with you or whatever it might be. So really what I want people to do is find freedom, get paid for being who they are. So it doesn't feel like work, and also set up a business in a way that lets them scale their experience of life. So that's a little bit of who I am, what I do.
Very compelling.
Yeah.
I'll double tap and go a little deeper on a few of those during the episode, because I think there's some good, really, really strong insights there. Let's drop down into the heart space.
Great. Yeah, my arm was getting a little tired.
Sometimes the heady stuff can be a little exhausting.
It's a little exhausting,
for an emotional being. So what are you feeling? What's alive in your feeling space?
I'm feeling lots of joy right now. Just really feeling like safe and grounded in your presence. Like that feels just really nice. Like I just love being with other men where there's just like a vibe or a connection where it's just like, oh yeah, it's just here. It's the first time we're meeting, but it doesn't feel like that. So to me, that's like very magical and just kind of excites me. What else am I feeling? I'm feeling very also confused on a general sense. A lot of shifts are happening in my life, and I welcome the confusion because I like it. It's an edge. But I want to speak that into this space, is that there's just like lots of shifts happening, lots of new things unfolding. My personality is shifting in new ways. I'm noticing I'm more pulled back, more in my hermit mode, and so like how does that shift who I am and how I be in the world? And so there's that. There's also so many amazing new exciting things going on in my life, and so there's a tremendous amount of excitement in my heart. It's just like that fully lived feeling of like being enthralled with what my day-to-day includes, like even today I look at my day, I'm like, yeah, great day, so that's kind of what's in my heart right now.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
Okay, we've honored the head and the heart. Let's drop down to the core of your being. And I like to just fill in the blank, I want, and let yourself riff for a bit.
Yeah. I want to live in a world and have my kids experience a world where people know who they are and they're not overwhelmed in a narrative of the world being in destruction and the end of times and AI takeover and just tariffs from Trump or whatever they might be concerned about, and to be able to know how to like be with that difficulty in life, but to still live fully. And I think when that happens, it opens up permission. What I really believe is that we're all here to inspire and be inspired by each other. And I truly believe that every action we take, including the inactions, create a ripple effect of permission and possibility. And so when people are in a fear state or limitation state, or they're depressed or disconnected or numb, then we live in a world where I can feel that. And what I want to feel is people's aliveness. I want to live in a world where people are fully lived. And I want to like be something that creates that possibility for other people. And I want to receive a download of what's possible from the people that I meet. Yeah. I want us all to be sharing possibility by who we are. I think that's ultimately what life is about.
Take a breath for that vision. Yes, please.
Yeah.
Would you say that you're a possibilitarian?
Dad
jokes. We got
it. I love it. Possibilitarian. Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
I would say so.
Now, you're a professional speaker.
Yeah.
I've heard that your mess is your message, or your mess can be your message.
Always.
And your message is fully lived. Can you give us a little preview, a little peek under the hood of a time when your life, either as a man or as a dad, was a mess, and you were not in this place of fully lived and exponential capacity for
sure. It actually, I'm gonna go pre-dad because is really the first 2.5 decades of my life. Ultimately, I was born into a very loving family, but very conservative, very religious, very clear on what a child should be or not be. And so I kind of grew up actually believing that I was just a representation of my parents on this planet.
Yeah.
And my entire duty was to make them proud, not to be who I am, but to be who they wanted me to be to the best of my ability and to not let them down. And so it was a really interesting environment to grow up in. There was some alcoholism, there was some abuse. They were loving, but they were strict. And my kind of strategies for finding safety were being a people pleaser and being an overachiever. And this is what I carried all through my life. I graduated high school a year early. I got a full ride scholarship to university, studied engineering, worked for a Fortune 500 company.
Good Indian boy.
Good Indian boy all the way through. Got an MBA at a top program. Oh, picked up a secondary master's. Why not? More letters behind my name. So everything in my life was just playing this game of proving how cool I could be or how successful I could be. And at some point, I just realized like, this is a mediocre life. Everyone else thinks it's amazing, but I don't. And the other thing is that I also took this vow of celibacy. So I didn't lose my virginity until I was 25.
Wow.
Yeah. So, and you know more about me and the work I do around intimacy and sexuality as well. In addition to the things I mentioned, it's a very important part of my own journey. And it's like, oh my God, I think one of the biggest regrets of my life is missing out on all that love and intimacy when I was a teenager, when I was in college, when I was a young professional. Like I just put that to the side to be this good boy. I wasn't living the life I wanted. I was living the life I was told I should live pretty much until my late 20s. Yeah.
Do you think that you can appreciate intimacy and love and physical connection more now because that was your journey?
Yeah, absolutely. It's such a big deal for me. And also when it comes to intimacy with other people, it has to be loving and grounded, sacred, healing, just present. Like I'm not just kind of into like a hookup for a hookup reason. So it's like when I do experience intimacy, it's quite profound. And that's what I ultimately help people with, is I want them to experience more profound intimacy, because it's so beautiful and healing for me and for the people that I get to interact with.
I've been on that intimacy journey as well. I have 2 small children and I smother them with my love, with my presence, with my kisses, and just like physical connection with them is so enriching.
Yeah.
And I've talked to other dads that are a little confused about like, I don't know how much love I'm supposed to give.
Yeah. I struggle with that.
But I think that's also, maybe they grew up not receiving so much love. They haven't gone through an intimacy journey with themselves.
Yeah.
And so it's like, oh, I'm going to keep my love at a distance.
Yeah.
I know as your kids are becoming, almost teenage, they're in this like
tweens.
Tweens. What does love look like?
It's such a great question. There's so many moments in my fatherhood journey where I realized I was acting what I thought a dad should be. From what I've seen in movies, from what I've seen on TV shows, from what I've seen with other dads, and I'm a little bit more like standoffish or a little bit cool, or a little bit curt, with them, or whatever it might be. And then I had to pause and I'm like, where is this coming from? Is this what I want to do? And then part of me feels like I need to be a hard edge in their life, they get the nourishment from mom, so I'm going to be the hard edge. But at the same time, I love them, and my authentic expression with them is to cuddle them, wrestle them, kiss them, like have this sort of loving energy. And what I love is I'll be like, I just look at them so many times through the day, and I'm just moved by the fact that I've created these bodies, these humans, and I get to be part of their journey here. Like it's overwhelming for me sometimes. And so multiple times a day, I'll just be like, hey, I love you.
Yeah.
And they're like, Dad, I know you've told us 1,000 times. So like, they're almost like annoyed by the amount of love that I show them, but I think it's important. And I don't know what the impact of this much love for a child will have.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me that is concerned, because I feel like, is it too loving? Is it too like allowing them to be who they are, because you know, my kids are tweens now, and I think soon you'll experience this as your kids get older, but they can be rude, they can be selfish, but then are they just allowed to be rude and selfish when they're 6 and 7 because they don't know anything else than their own world? And so do you kind of allow that and let that be, or do you start pulling them into this kind of mainstream narrative of service, of, you know, compliance, of, hey, here's the expectation, you need to meet that, here's how you. And I've actually decided to spoil my kids. Yeah, that's what I've decided to do. And it's an experiment, and I don't know, I've never received that myself. I don't know people who have been like, oh my God, my parents are the best. So, you know, like, they told me they love me 4 times a day. Like, I don't know anyone like that. So maybe my kids will be the first ones, or maybe there's other ones out there already, but that's what I'm shooting for. I'm taking a risk, and I'm just leaning towards letting them be who they are for a very long time. And like my youngest took a little bit longer time to read. And I was just like, by now you should be reading by now. And I'm like, where's that coming from? Yeah. Why am I mad at him for some external thing of around this age you should be reading? Because now I let off, and now he's like, this morning when I left, he was sitting on the couch reading a book.
Voracious reader.
Voracious reader. And I wouldn't say voracious. His brother is very voracious. He's avid, you know? So, but he reads on his own now, and he does it, but it took a long journey to get there. And I could have been the one who was like, by now you should be doing this. By now you should be potty trained. By now you should be sleep trained. By now you should be whatever. Yeah. But based on what general average is, like, where does that guidance come from? So I'm just falling into something that feels really vulnerable, which is to allow my kids to not be the best behaved, to allow them to not be the smartest, not be the brightest, not be the est in any category, and just be who they are and love them for that. And it feels interesting, like a journey to be on.
It's that experiment, like you said, like there's not so much data, not a lot of data points out there,
right,
of parents that have actively allowed their kids to be fully authentically themselves. Yeah. And see where that goes.
Exactly. And I also want to caveat, I'm not perfect at this. So there are definitely moments where I'm like, guys, what is happening? You know, like you hold on here. So those moments happen. But then even when those moments happen and we kind of come to this point, when I reflect on it, I do realize once again, some external narrative was gripping me of where they should be. Yeah. And I should on them. And then I go back and I repair, which I think is one of the most vulnerable things as a parent to do, is to repair. And my parents never repaired with me when I was a child. Yeah. And it's really important for my wife and I that we repair with our children. Yeah. And my God, is that hard to say, hey, I was upset. Yeah. And I wasn't upset at you. I was upset at the situation. You know, I could have been kinder with you. I could have been sweeter with you. And I'm not even yelling at my kids. I'm just using a clear voice. Yeah. So we have like an elevation. We have my normal voice. If they're not hearing me, I say, hey, are you hearing me? Because if not, I'll use my clear voice. And I inform them beforehand that that's about to happen. I don't surprise them. Yeah. Try not to. And I say, I'm going to use my clear voice. And when my clear voice comes through, they pretty much get it. But if they don't, I say, hey, my loud voice is coming next. Yeah. And they're like, we don't want to hear that. So then the clear voice can work, right? So we kind of have these layers. But even in my clear voice, it's like, hey, I didn't need to be so clear. You know, I could have been more sweet. And you know, like, I want you to know I love you, and it's not your fault. I was just frustrated at the situation, and it led to me using my clear voice with you. And it just opens, and it just kind of loses that narrative where they have to carry shame and guilt about being who they are. Yeah.
Yeah, that hits a lot. I'm finding myself in that stage of even repairing with my almost 3-year-old, just because I know how important it is to start to flex that muscle.
100%.
Now.
Totally. Day one. Yeah.
And one of my previous guests, Jason Gaddis, wrote a book called Getting to Zero, 300 pages, all about repair. Oh, primarily with your partner, but in work, in all facets of life. Yeah. And if he was sitting here right now, he would say, repair with your wife, with your spouse, with your partner.
Yeah, 100%.
Practice there, and then mirror it, and that's what your children will absorb.
100%. Because if the loop is not closed, a narrative is created around it, you know, and when it's closed, it can be released and it doesn't lodge in. So 100%. And I love Jason's work.
Yeah. Shout out to Jason.
Yeah.
You know, you also, you have to have a certain level of awareness within yourself if you're going to say to your kids, like, hey, I'm going to use my loud voice.
Yeah.
Versus loud voice just erupts.
100%. Yeah.
Right?
And it's wild.
And I know you've been on a deep journey with men's work and dad's work. Like, to the dad listening who's like, oh, shit, I'm kind of yelling at my kids or my wife just like automatically.
Yeah.
I don't have that gap of awareness. I haven't maybe done the men's work or the self work.
Yeah.
What advice or what kind of just candor can you share there?
A couple of things I'll say is like, it's not an overnight thing. So I would say the very minimum, having supported people in developing this capacity, at a very minimum, it takes about 6 months of dedicated like intention to do it, if that makes sense. So like, if you're sitting here listening to this and you're feeling a little bit guilty or shame or frustration around how you just yell, great, you got work to do. Yeah. So I'm not going to say like, oh, here in a podcast, I'll give you 3 tips that's going to change. No, it's literally, you have to work on this. Yeah. You have to understand what's going on for you inside. You need to re-relate to your emotions and understand. So for example, and so to me, there's kind of 2 layers to this. One is emotions and one is worthiness. These are the 2 phase gates that I work with mostly on people. So I've seen what happens at both of these. On one layer is the emotionality. With your emotions, there's kind of like 4 kind of layers, I think, of emotional mastery that every human being, let alone dad, especially a dad or a parent, should know. And the first layer is around like re-relating to your emotions and understanding like how to be with them, because we were never taught that. So one of the ones I'll give an example of here is like anger, right? So like, what are some stories that you were told about anger growing up?
I wasn't told any stories about anger. I was just shown what unhealthy expressions of anger look like.
Right? And so maybe the stories were like, don't get angry. Your anger will hurt people. Yeah. Right? Like, it's not okay to be angry.
Not safe. It's not
safe. Exactly. Yeah. So let's take that. So then what happens is, and as dads, we're in a place where we may feel anger.
Often feel frustration. Like,
at our partners, right? Like intimacy, that's about that whole journey and understanding and focus. Our careers, we might have frustrations from work, right?
100%.
We might be getting dad bod and like feeling older and getting grays, and so we're frustrated about that. And then our kids are just literally, for the 300th time, we're telling them to put their toy away, right? So look, like, there's frustration, there's anger there. But if you're trying to be in the narrative of like, it's not okay for me to get angry, what's going to happen is going to come out sideways. Because the 301st time that you step on that toy and you're like, and then you do it, your kid's getting it.
And the consequence of the 301st time that explodes can be
traumatizing.
Everything.
Right. And so then the idea is like, okay, let's go back to anger and what we know about anger, because that strategy is not working. So if you're re-relating to anger, what I tell people is, what if the notion was this? What if your relationship to anger was, it's very healthy for me to feel anger. It's a pathway to my power. But it's not okay to let my anger hurt someone. All of a sudden, there's a high amount of sovereignty and choice in this, because now you're like, oh, wow, it's healthy for me to feel anger. So when I feel it, I should allow myself to feel it. It can be an access point to my power. Oh, wow, I can actually feel more powerful in my day. You know how many dads go around not feeling powerful, and that's why it comes out to their kids or to their partners, right? So it can be an access point to your power. And then most importantly, it's not okay to let it hurt someone. That means, oh, I have a choice of how I feel angry. I can feel angry and not let it hurt someone. So one time my kids were in my bathroom, in my tub, and there's a hose. And they were like putting
on water.
Yeah, right?
Doesn't stay in the tub.
Doesn't stay in the tub. And I said, okay, guys, like, look, if you really want to play with this, spray it on this wall, and this wall. But over here, I had like a shelf of like, all these like beautiful like scarves, jewelry, all these things that I love putting on, like, so I'm like, this shelf has to stay dry. So you can go all over here, go have fun. I'm like, you got it? They go, yeah, we got it. Come back in 10 minutes later. What do I see? Water's all over the shelf. All my stuff is like literally like knocked off and like just soaking, and like, I'm angry.
Didn't stand a chance.
So I'm angry, right? So I say, okay, guys, I come in. They're like, oh, he's angry. Okay. then I bring them out of the bathroom to the bedroom. And, you're familiar with like these pillow hitting exercises and different things.
Sure.
And I say, listen, I'm feeling lots of anger because that thing that you got water on was really important to me. And I want you to feel and see what my anger is like. And they were on the side And then I turned like away from them towards the pillow, and I hit the pillow, and I showed them. And I was like, and I showed them my anger so you can feel daddy's power, right?
Yeah.
And they're looking at me, and then I finished that. I released, and I turned to them and I said, "Do you understand how angry I'm feeling about this?" They go, "Yes." I go, "This is why next time, if you make an agreement, it's really important that I feel I can trust you to follow that agreement, because I will feel angry like this. And I'm not upset at you for doing it, but I'm upset that my stuff is ruined." And they're like, "We get it." Right. And so that's what I feel is a healthy way of being with an emotion like anger, which is naturally part of a dad's life. Like we have provider pressure, we have all these things we're navigating. Yeah. Anger is there, but it's also our access point to our power. Yeah. But I didn't let it hurt them. I let them witness me, my power, and they felt what I was capable of, but it wasn't directed to them. And that changed things. They really understood, and then we were clear.
Whew. I like that moment of you going into the bedroom with them and having them witness you in your release and expression of anger. Like, look at dad's power.
Yeah.
Wow. I think that moment to me is the importance of men's work.
Yeah, 100%.
That courage, that wiring to know that exercise, how to do it tactfully, doesn't happen unless you've done it before, you witnessed it in others. I think before I became a dad, when I was still just kind of in this like becoming of myself, men's work was this first time that I was seeing other men like hold each other accountable, create safe spaces for whatever emotion to come through. And then on top of that, I was also witnessing all these men that were leaders of their family and their business and their community. I was like, wow, these guys are like really in integrity with themselves. They just feel different, like nothing I've seen in the outside world.
Yeah. I really feel that every man on this planet should be sitting in a men's circle. Yeah. And with conscious men who are in integrity. So there's two types of crowds, right? Like say, you're talking to your friends and you're just like, "Oh my God, my wife, she's being so crazy, la da da da." And they're like, "Yeah, she's crazy. Like, come on, let's just go get a drink." And like, that's definitely not the type of friend that you want to have. If your friends are like that, and sadly, most people have been trained to be a friend like that, is to just agree with the person and take their side. That's not a good friend, right? A good friend or a good man that you want to be with is going to be like, "Oh yeah, my wife, she's being so crazy. I can't even stand her." And be like, "Yeah, okay, brother, but what's your part in this?" Right? And that is the type of man that you want to be around. And that's the type of men you find who are doing men's work. Yeah.
When you were sharing from the place of like what you want in this world, I really heard and felt like this world without destruction, this world with it is safe to be authentically ourselves. Yeah. I think there's also, for the man who's listening, who's like watching the news and just really absorbed by the chaos in the world, there might be this narrative of like, this is not a safe world to bring a child into. Are you crazy? Becoming a parent into this? You live in a specific part of the world. You travel a lot. How do you navigate just with the external chaos while also creating like a really harmonious environment for your family to thrive?
100%. I love this question. So in the US, the news is everywhere. You go to the airport, it's on. Like, I have no choice. Like, there's no consent. I just am presented with headlines, and it's presented in a way that draws you in, and all of a sudden you care about this one figure who you never even knew before has now become the central part of your universe, and you're arguing about that person on Facebook, or this, geography, or this new whatever disagreement, a law that may be happening. All of a sudden, it's like pulling that to be the center of your universe. Yeah. You don't fuck with my center of my universe. That's my kids and myself. That's my family. Like nothing is going to replace that. So I'm not available for the news. Like, there'll be things that happen and I'll just be like, what do you mean that happened? Because when it happens, it's like the biggest deal. And then like 2 months later, something else is the biggest deal. And it actually wasn't that big of a deal, right? So I have means through social media of like, of course, if people are sharing things, then I'll get the news that I need. I'll never watch the news. If I'm like visiting my parents, they have the news on, I'll be like, can you turn that off? Yeah. Like it's like, no.
It's an
energetic boundary. Yeah. I'm not going to let you hijack my life. Secondary thing is that what the news presents is like, the 0.3% of the negative things that are happening, and they're amplified to the maximum as if they're occurring everywhere all the time.
Yeah.
I'm not saying there's bad things. There's no bypassing here. I feel the pain of the universe. I connect to the suffering of the world. Like, it's happening. It's real. And at the same time, me spending my time posting about it on Facebook or feeling frustration from that and bringing it home to my kids and my wife, like, that's not fair. Like, that's not in integrity with what I need to be doing. What I can be doing is, like, for example, with Doppel, I remember that time, like, people were posting and I'm like, yeah, but are you calling the banks? Are you like divesting? Like, I did that. I divested all my accounts from the banks that were supporting Doppel. Like, those kind of actions actually lead to change. So if you're feeling something about some specific thing you're watching in the news, but you're just spending time posting about it on social media and arguing with other people, you're not actually getting anywhere. You've got to take the actions that can lead somewhere. I would love to see more people like, hey, I saw this in the news. I'm grieving it. I'm taking these actions. Who come with me? Instead of trying to be right. Right. And so this is where we get caught up. So for me, I don't do that. And I focus on what's around me. And, and I go to a coffee shop, and instead of being in a rush and being angry, I'll start a conversation with someone. I'll realize they're a retired woman in their 70s, and they're road tripping around the US. And I ask, like, do you feel safe? She's like, of course I feel safe, because I'm with humans. I'm not watching the news, right? It's like, I get that response from the people who are in the world, of like the barista behind the counter, the people in line, the person at the drive-thru, like whoever that person might be. It's like, we're all actually living safe, beautiful, privileged lives. And there's risk and there's pain. Again, it goes to that emotional mastery part of, like, how do you be with all of that, but then show up in integrity for your kids? Because we live in a beautiful world where you can go on a hike, you can go to a park, you can go to a playground, you can go to a store and buy stuff from all over the world. Like, come on, how beautiful is our lives? Let's not lose that while we're grieving and mourning and feeling the emotions around the hardships of the world. They both can exist. When you can be in that, it allows you to just be who you truly are and let your family really see that.
Phew. Breath for that. Yeah. Yeah. I'm feeling the fire there.
Yeah.
I loved what you said too. I wish people were posting about how they are grieving, or maybe, I've seen some people showing their grief, really like hitting record and just sobbing. It's very rare. But when you do, you just see this outpour of like actual vulnerability and connection, which is so much more courageous than just the post of like copy paste of what you're seeing. 35
forward the thing from that news network, or forward the thing from that influencer. Like, see, it's like, oh, this is disgusting, I don't even understand. It's like, well, seek to understand. And it's just like, there's always going to be some issue for you, guaranteed. You will never not have an issue. The news will take care of that for you. You'll always have the next thing that's going to ruin your life, whether it's an election or a new law or a shooting or a declaration of war or a new technology or, things they put into our food. It's like, you will always be given something to spend all your energy and resources on. So wake up to the program and realize, tune into that as you need, play the role you need to play when it calls to you. Otherwise, life is beautiful. Your neighbors are amazing.
You said before, my kids, my family, you said, don't fuck with my universe. With like there was a lot of just like fierce ferocity there. And you've talked a little bit about, not a little bit, you've talked about emotional mastery. You've talked about using your gifts to create value and earn a living and build a colorful life. So to me, these sounds like few elements of fully lived. Without pulling the hood completely into your methodology, what are some other parts of being fully lived, but also as a dad? Like, how can I turn the volume up on my authentic expression in a way that my family feels and receives me differently?
This is a loaded question. I could talk for a few hours on this. Let me try to find a good summary. So I think what I can share is, okay, I'll kind of do it this way. So there's kind of like a 4-part methodology when it comes to the fully lived method. So this is something that I've used over and over again for years. I've run a group program for 4.5 years, 100% success rate.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't guarantee it. It just works for people because they do it and it makes sense. So I'll kind of walk through briefly what those 4 parts are, and then let's see how that applies, and we can go deeper, or maybe it'll be enough.
Okay.
So the first layer is you really just have to shift your relationship to like universe and time, right? And ultimately that first step to me is getting out of a victim mentality of like being like, oh my God, social media is so addictive. That sentence is full of victim mentality. It's like, yeah, so what? So is alcohol, so is sugar, so is meth. Like, are you addicted to those? Like, you have the capability, and maybe some people are, and I get that.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is like, why is it I'm addicted to social media? Because it's just made to be addictive. But so are all these other things, yet I'm not, addicted to meth, right? Like, it's like, you have the capability within yourself to recognize something as being addictive, but like kind of choosing that like you're in power, like you get to kind of step into being who you want to be, right? And so one of the favorite things I love to say here is that like the present moment is pre-sent to us by us, right? So what I'm experiencing for the rest of this week is sent by who I'm being now, right? And if I'm being generous and kind and I'm positive outlook and all of these sort of things, then the future me gets to experience all that. If I'm numb, if I'm disconnected, if I'm in a fear modality or victim mentality, then that's what I'm sending to myself is more of that in the future. So the first step is like, you've got to realize you're creating this, right? Like whatever you're experiencing, to some extent, you're sending that to yourself and for your future to experience. And you're also therefore, as a father, who I always say the father sets the tone of 100%. The family, whether you're present or not. If you're without a dad, the dad was part of the narrative. So as that, you're also then sending this to your whole family. There's huge responsibility here, but people don't get that. And I think that's where I start with people first and foremost. And when they do this, and they have all these practices and things that you do and test to like activate this muscle, within the first 30 days, people are just like, it literally just feels like it's too easy now. I'm scared. The people are
what
scared.
Could I create from this place of
they're overwhelmed and they're scared because they're like, this is working too well. This is like, I'm just like, miracles are occurring. And I'm like, it gets to be like, and then they get really overwhelmed, right? So this is just in 30 days that people can kind of achieve this.
Sure.
Then the next step, and I do these over months. So then the next thing that I realize for people in their journey is that now there's like all this capacity, but then they're present, kind of relationships, situations, contexts that they're operating in need to be cleaned up. So this is like understanding how to respond to mom when she's calling you and telling you how you live your life and you're a grown adult man, right?
Keyword respond. You know, the previous version of self it's all just reactionary.
Exactly.
Right? So this like conscious responding to my external stressors. Yeah.
So how do you find where your boundaries are at work? Where you find where your boundaries are with family members or with difficult friends or with whoever? How do you know like what's in your kingdom, right? Like my family is my kingdom. So I don't just let anybody into that, and I don't leave my kingdom to go save someone else. No way. My kingdom is where I operate. So this is the second step, is like kind of coming into the power of the present and like clearing away all these other things that are kind of taking at you so that you can actually be with what's happening. Because in the first month, you're creating all this and all this is happening. You're a little bit overwhelmed. It's like, okay, let's create capacity for you to be with what's actually occurring now. And let's snip away the things that actually, if you snip them away, life will go on. But you do like you couldn't believe that before. But you will believe that like your family member who reaches out for support like will be okay. Like they will find. So the second step is really around like coming into that clarity, like understanding the nature of desire. How am I being moved? Like what's taking me where? Like what's operating my system that's making me take the actions that I'm taking? So that's kind of the second month, right? It's like once you understand that you're creating this, you can present it. It's like, okay, let's get more under the hood and break this out. Again, another 30-day period to do that. At that point, you're clicking pretty nicely, right? So you're like, I have capacity, I'm doing all this. There's a level of emotional overwhelm that begins to unveil of like regret that you've been spending so much of your time in your day not doing this for decades of your life, the amount of hurt that you've created, the amount of loss that you've experienced, the amount of darkness you were in, now that you're experiencing so much more magic and miracles. So then that third month is emotional mastery. That's where we start opening up all that pent up stuff that feels too overwhelming. People want to start sabotaging at the 60-day mark, like without doubt. People will come in, I'm like, makes sense. I know, I've seen this happen over and over again.
It's like a purging too. It's like these toxins are being pressed out.
Yeah.
So there's like a, oh man.
There's so much uncomfortability in realizing that you can be fully lived more easily than you realize, that you begin to sabotage or create these patterns. It's kind of, you know, Gay Hendricks called it the upper limit problem, right? We've heard of these things. So this is where we face that. And again, the pathway through there is the emotional mastery of just like letting out all the stuff that were there and all this sort of stuff. We're actually in that month right now in my mastermind, so it's super fun, you know. So we'll get on the calls and we'll like hit pillows, or we'll do these practices live, you know, and as a group, and everyone's just like, oh my God, you know, and they feel so alive, you know. And so it's like we're not used to being so fully alive, and so that's really the layer there. And then the 4th month, that's where we then get into the past or the why or the story. Notice none of this has to do with how traumatized you were with a kid, whether you were abused or not, whether you had a big breakup or were bullied or.
But I want to talk about that. That was so important to me, and you got to hear me. It's like so crucial to my experience. Like, how do you? The stories are so dense.
We can't get anywhere until that. And I just tell people, I say, trust this process. It has worked 100% of the time for everyone who's gone through it, right? So just please. And then if it doesn't work or you don't like it, change. Like, but just follow me on this. So we put those stories and narratives to the side. And what we're doing is we're actually, in a way, we're enabling the mature adult self to be fully powerful. Once that's activated, then we go into shadow work. Then we go into the history, the trauma, the child, you know, reparenting journey, all that stuff. If you've done shadow work, you know, I have this terminology that I use called TMSW, too much shadow work, where people are like, oh my God, I'm sorry, I'm late. I have this, you know, history of like, and it's like, they know their shadows, they know their patterns, but they just operate in them with awareness. And they go to workshops where they do shadow work, and then they get a high for 2 weeks and they're back in their patterns. It doesn't work. Shadow work doesn't work if you don't have this emotionally mature, capable adult activated to really come in and say, no, actually, I'm here now. And like your patterns don't need to operate in the same way anymore. I'm like actually here. And they'll go, oh, wait, oh, you are here. Oh, I feel this. Okay. All right, well, I'm going to relax, but I'm just going to be on the side here. I'm not going away, but I'm watching you. I'm going to make sure you're staying in your practice and you're staying on top of it. So what we do is all those things that are tight inside that are leading us to yell at our kids or get frustrated at our work or not speak up with our relationship or, you know, initiate intimacy the way we want. We just go to those things and they go, they just start loosening up. And the things that we've picked up along our journey that have indicated who we are relax, which allows us to then be who we truly fucking are, right? So that's when that moment occurs. And then 2 more months of just really mastering this work. So there's deeper layers than after the 4-part process. This is why I've seen 6 months be the minimum time that I've seen anyone actually become the more authentic version of themselves, who's more present, who's more grounded, who's not caught up in all the drama, who understands their boundaries, who can be with emotions, who can heal all those parts and be loosened up and opened up and move through the world with this breath, right? And that's what I want to create. The world is more of that. That's like when the world is full of people like that, yeah, my kids will thrive. I will thrive. We'll all thrive.
Big breath for that transmission. Yeah. That's at the core of what I'm a stand for. This peaceful papa and the other things I'm birthing into the world, they're really at their core. It's like, how can we be more present, more peaceful, more purposeful, just pillars for ourselves and our families and our communities.
Yeah.
And operating from that place.
Yeah. Because everything that we do, every action that we take, even the ones we don't take, create that ripple effect of permission and possibility. That's it. Yeah. So if we're all permission, you know, creating machines for each other, what kind of permissions are we creating? You know, if I come to you and I'm just like, oh yeah, oh my God, did you watch the news and and I'm bring you down into my frequency, that's what you're creating more of. Yeah. And then when you're just like, hey, yeah, like I hear that and here's what I'm moving through and here's authentically where I'm, you know, and we're having conversations we're having right now. Yeah. We're having this because it uplifts the listeners, right? It shows them possibility, gives them permission to say, yeah, I don't need to be in my pattern. I'm not alone. There's ways out, right? And so if all the conversations were like that, just imagine the kind of world we're living in. It would still have problems. Okay. It would still have issues. It's not a utopia. We need those problems actually to find our edges. But the experience that we get of the world we're living is that of no regrets, is that of full expression, is that of feeling exhausted in our purpose and connected to our families. That's the goal, I think. Yeah.
We'll probably start to put a bow on this because I feel like we've hit the juice. I'm feeling inspired just by the charisma and also the possibility. Like there's this enthusiasm around like, no, you can have this. You can be this.
100%.
And maybe what I'd love just to start to wrap things up with is, when your children, when your partner, when your, in your case, global community is witnessing you alive, aligned, on purpose, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of wild, man, because every day 1 to 5 people are reflecting to me how I create possibility in their lives, how I've inspired them, how something I've done. Like every day, 1 to 5 people, either in person, through a text message randomly, through a Facebook comment on a post that I've made, or whatever it might be. Like every single day that occurs.
Yeah.
I love that. I love that people can witness who I'm being without performance. Of course, there's some layer of performance that I have to own. It's there, right? It just happens. I'm working on that actively, but I'm being as authentic as I can with the capability that I have in the moment, right? And I want that to be witnessed, and through who I am authentically, have that great permission. And people receive that. All people need to see it. Everything that I've created, like my first book that I wrote it because someone else that I knew wrote a book. And I was like, oh my God, you wrote a book? I could write a book then, right? I'll write a book. I'll write 8, and so there's these competitive layers, there's these performance layers. They're part of all of us. I'm perfectly human. I make mistakes. I go through the full cycles of depression and, disconnection and all that stuff. I feel those. It's not like life is perfect, but I know how to move through them quickly and come back out to being my full self. I have the tools now. So what happens is just like, this ripple effect is being created. And I see it just even in like, I get to go really intimate with my clients. And so I get to see it in their lives. And then people tell me like, oh yeah, like I did this practice with my kids. And I'm like, thank you. Yeah. Because I can't reach your kids. Yeah. I can't reach the whole world. I have to work with these people who are then going to go take that into their lives and be that in their lives. So ripple affects into their communities and it continues to go on. That's the only way I can change the world into what I would love for it to be, a fully lived world. But I can't reach everyone all the time, right? And so
we need platforms that amplify our message.
That get amplified, exactly, yeah.
I think there's a narrative in the collective that men are slow to do the work. They're not doing it. Men are broken. Men are unhealed. I don't want to go into that story because 2 living examples of men that are not broken, that are actively, fully living in their truth and power.
Still a little bit broken. Yeah,
totally.
But
on the mend.
Doing our best.
On the mend.
Yeah, doing our best. Yeah.
And final words to the listener that is receiving a lot of this wisdom. How do you want to?
The main thing that I would just say is like everything that you're struggling with, there is a tool that can support you. My entire philosophy of everything that I have ever taught or spoken on stage or anything comes down to 2 words: practice versus pattern. If you're in a pattern, you're getting the same results over and over again. So if you're in a pattern of going to work and coming out, you're going to get that same result. So there's some practices you can do to maybe start a side hustle that can overtake that. But you need to be in practice around the discipline to do that. If you're not having intimacy with your partner and you're in your pattern, and then when intimacy is about to happen, something occurs and a fight happens and you're just not connecting, there's a practice around probably repair or other tools, imago dialogue. There's all these tools that just exist to create that. If you're getting curt and smart with your kids and you don't want to be doing that, that's a pattern at play. So you just got to catch that pattern and choose a practice that's going to help you, give you freedom. Most of these practices are simply just like ask ChatGPT. I'm not even giving you a pitch to come work with me. You know, it's like you can go find these on Google. You know, it'll be harder to figure out which ones to use when and how. That takes a little bit more work. But if you're like, oh man, like I don't have the money for this, I don't have the time for this, like literally just Google or ChatGPT. Hey, I'm having this issue. What tool can I use? Yeah. Try it, right? It may not be the best tool. A coach will be able to give you more specificity, right? But the idea is literally the solution exists. Why the fuck are you struggling if the solution exists? Yeah. Just find it. Like you and I have found tools. We found practices. We found mentors. We found coaches. I have invested over $500,000 into receiving coaching, to getting coached by the best men and women that I know on this planet, because I wanted the toolbox. I was not going to stand for the life the way that I was living it. I want to live my life fully lived. And I don't have the answers. I have to get them from other people. So the majority of the income that I have ever created in my life, the majority of that has gone into paying people to coach me. I didn't just wake up like this. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't think people realize that. Like the people who are living into the most freedom have mentors, have coaches, are reading books. Like my wife and I she's a relationship coach. We're constantly reading relationship books together, you know, like to get new tools. We have a relationship coach, right? So like every part of our life is supported by the wisdom that's already in existence. We just need to discover it. And when we discover some of these tools, we're literally like laughing, crying, you know, we're just like, oh my God, this is what has been going on. Why are we wasting so much of our time on this? Like, okay, let's go. So it gives you the freedom. Every human being is going through the same thing. You're not unique. Yeah. Sorry.
You are unique. You're not alone.
You're not alone. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You're not unique in your struggles. Yes. Yeah. You're unique in who you are, and we're waiting for your expression, your full expression, to create a ripple of permission and possibility in the world. But you're not unique in your struggles. In fact, most people have figured out your struggle. We've gone through the same struggles. I still struggle with the same things that you're struggling with, right? It's like the struggles don't go away, but there's solutions that help you understand how to respond to them, so you're not stuck in them and you can come back to being fully lived. That's the main thing. Practice versus pattern. If you're in a pattern, getting the same results, find practices that will give you a different result. Start now. Start today.
You heard it here. Maybe first, but practice over pattern. Jaymin, really appreciate your presence, your energy, the journey that you've been on to be able to extract so much wisdom and
thank you,
and share it so eloquently and enthusiastically.
Yeah, thank you, brother. Thanks for having me. Super fun.
Yeah,
wonderful.
That's a wrap. Jaemin Patel, thank you so much.
Bam.
Cool.
All right. Yeah. Great. Thanks, brother.
Sweet.
Bam.
You've been listening to the Peaceful Pop-Up Podcast. May the wisdom you found here ripple into your being, your family, your community, and the world at large. I look forward to being with you again soon. See you on the next episode.